In this presentation, I'll be evaluating my client's strengths and weaknesses in terms of their exercise, health and lifestyle. So my client is Paul. He's aged 23, 5'10", weighs 47 kilograms and has no known medical conditions. His BMI comes out at 15, which is classed as underweight. So one of Paul's strengths is his stress levels. He doesn't really experience stress very often. The only times he might experience it is when he's at the gym and he sees another person with the body image he wants. But he deals with this stress quite well. As opposed to getting worked up and annoyed about it, he uses it as a form of motivation to help him reach his goals. This would indicate that when Paul does get stressed, he falls into the eustress category, meaning that his performance is at its optimum. Paul believes that the fact that he is exercising so much is a contributing factor as to why he doesn't experience stress as much as other people do. In addition to this, he also doesn't have a huge amount of interaction with his friends, which may also be why he experiences less stress, because there's a bit less drama going on. Some of the benefits of him not experiencing stress are uninterrupted sleep, more energy, less mood swings, and a lower risk of hypertension. Another strength for Paul is his alcohol consumption. He doesn't drink at all, which puts him at a huge advantage over those who do. So a low risk lifestyle in terms of alcohol means a person is consuming less than 14 units of alcohol per week, and seeing as Paul consumes absolutely none, it decreases this risk even further. He's got a lower risk of developing a number of different cancers, as well as being less likely to be overweight. Alcohol can have a big impact on a person's mental health too, so the fact that Paul doesn't drink means that he is at a lower risk of developing mental health issues such as depression and anxiety. Instead, Paul's work performance will increase as well as his concentration levels, meaning he will be able to perform tasks to the best of his ability. He'll also save a lot of money by not buying alcohol, and he can then put this money to better use for more beneficial things that will enhance his life. One of Paul's weaknesses is his nutrition. He follows a lot of fad diets and strict diet plans that don't necessarily allow him to receive all the nutrients his body needs in order to function properly. Because of this, he suffers from mood swings and sometimes feels tired as he isn't taking enough fuels to allow him to sustain the level of physical activity he's currently doing. His meals are typically quite small, which means that he gets hungry more often, and because of that he feels the need to snack more often. Paul is aware of the eat well plate but doesn't follow it, as it doesn't fit in with his diet plans, and he's quite strict with himself on them. The lack of food in Paul's diet can lead to his body using his muscles as a form of fuel, which can become extremely dangerous and lead to more complicated health problems and much harder to recover from. The second weakness for Paul is his physical activity levels. Although it's important to take part in physical activity, and it can have a lot of health benefits, too much can also be harmful. The extreme amount of physical activity Paul is doing in conjunction with his poor eating habits means that he doesn't have enough energy to sustain his physical activity, which is leaving him feeling fatigued and lethargic. So Paul is prioritising physical activity over other important aspects of his life, such as work and social interaction. The fact that he is becoming so obsessive with how much activity he is doing and his body image means that he is isolating himself from others, and so his social life isn't healthy. As I mentioned earlier, Paul's currently underweight with a BMI of 15, and with his current levels of physical activity, he isn't going to be increasing his weight. So in terms of changing behaviour, there's usually a process a person has to go through, and some will work better than others, depending on the person. So cognitive behaviour therapy, for example, is based on the concept that your thoughts, feelings, physical sensations and actions are interconnected, and that negative thoughts and feelings can trap you in a vicious cycle. So what it does is it helps a person to highlight the negative thoughts and feelings, so that they can then find the positives and alter their feelings and reactions towards the issue. But it can require a lot of commitment and time, and for some people they might find it quite uncomfortable. So cognitive behaviour therapy, it can be helpful in cases where medication alone hasn't worked. It can be completed in a relatively short period of time compared to other talking therapies, and the highly structured nature of it means it can be provided in different formats. So this could be a group self-help book or computer program. It also teaches you useful and practical strategies that can be used in everyday life even after the treatment is finished. However, you do need to commit yourself to the process to get the most from it, because obviously a therapist, they can only help and advise you, but you need to do the rest yourself. Attending regular sessions and carrying out any extra work between sessions can take up a lot of a person's time, and some people might not be suitable for people with more complex mental health needs or learning difficulties, as it needs very structured sessions, which might not work out for everyone. So it involves confronting your emotions and anxieties, and for some people that might feel like a bit too much, and it might be quite head on and they can't work very well with that process. Another behaviour change management style is the trans-theoretical model. So there's 5 or sometimes 6 different stages to this model. The first one being pre-contemplation, which is a point where someone's not really ready to take part in an activity or a change in their behaviour. Contemplation is when they start thinking about it. They haven't actively done anything, but they're kind of more leaning towards the fact that they want to do it. At the preparation stage, someone might be putting things in place to then actually carry it out in the near future. Then the action stage is them actually doing it. Maintenance would refer to them sustaining that new behaviour and keep on going with it and not slipping back into old habits. And then sometimes the 6th stage would be termination, which is the point where someone gives up completely. So some good things about this model is the fact that there's room for progression as well as relapse. So it takes into consideration that it's not going to be necessarily a smooth ride, and that there's going to be slip-ups at times, but someone can still get back on track. It allows people to move through the stages at their own pace, and it's quite gradual rather than being like an overnight change in someone's lifestyle, which would be a lot harder to maintain than making smaller, easier adjustments. People can actually skip stages altogether, like they might go from pre-contemplation or whatever straight to preparation. Like they might not stay in the contemplation stage for very long or at all, really. But obviously that can also be a negative, the fact that someone can be stuck in a certain stage for so long that they can't really get out of it, and it can require quite a lot of willpower for someone to get involved in the first place. So as I mentioned earlier, one of his weaknesses is his nutrition. So there's a few different strategies that might be useful. One being a food diary. So this would involve Paul recording what he eats each day, then looking over it, and changing certain aspects of his diet based on what he's got written down to kind of see the weaknesses in what he's doing. So yeah, creating not only a list of what he's eating, but potential habits that he's noticed, like when he's eating, what he's doing while he's eating and stuff like that. So the positives of this is that it's easy to see where the weaknesses are, and then because it's easy to locate them, it's easier to correct them. It can be potentially quite eye-opening to Paul, because he might see himself as having quite a healthy, balanced diet, but then looking back at that, he might realise that it's not as good as it could be, and that's actually quite worrying at times. Obviously it's quite easy to carry out, it's just noting down at what point you're eating throughout the day, and it makes it easy for him to self-assess. He doesn't need anyone to help him really go through, because it's quite self-explanatory. Obviously some of the negatives is that he might forget to do it, and it does require a certain level of commitment to actually carry on doing it every day. And then there's also the possibility that despite what's being written down, Paul might not actually acknowledge that there's anything wrong with his diet. He might think that's fine. Meal plans are another option, where someone decides what they're going to be eating throughout the week to ensure each meal is balanced in terms of nutritional value. Then all it is just a case of following what they've planned, and then if they do that, they'll be consuming a healthy diet. So the positives of this is that he doesn't have to put in much thought as to what he's going to eat because it's already been planned out, and he's able to plan the meals that he likes. However, even if the plan is there, he still might not stick to it, and his portion control might not be great. So although he's taking in well balanced foods, he might not be taking enough of it in. He also might not want to cook for himself and might get bored of the meals that he's already got planned. So another alternative would be something such as Body Chef, where they send you kind of pre-made meals with set portions and for set dietary requirements and stuff like that. So the positives of this is that the meal's already balanced in terms of nutrients, and because he'll be taking in the better nutrients, he should experience less mood swings. The fact that he's paying for them might mean he's less inclined to waste the meals because they're already there and he's already gone through the effort of getting them. The meals are prepared in set portions, and so if he's following, like eating everything that he's given, then he'll feel fuller and he'll have less need to snack. It's less hassle to prepare and think about the food because it just arrives more or less ready. It's just a case of heating up, and it's less time consuming. However, this could potentially be quite expensive for him, and although it's there, he might not eat it all, and he may not just continue with them in general. He might try it for a bit and then decide that's not what he wants to do. I personally think that Body Chef kind of system and food diary probably work best for Paul. As by the sounds of it, Paul's always kind of on the go, and so a food diary would be quite beneficial as he's able to quickly note down what he isn't taking in, and because he already has a knowledge on what a healthy diet is, if he's taking into account what he is actually eating, then I feel like it might be quite eye-opening for him and might leave him more willing to make a change and aware that he's doing harm to his body. And the Body Chef, again, I feel like would work quite well for Paul because he's stated before that he's a waiter as well, and so he might not always have time for cooking, and it's just a way to ensure that he's getting everything he needs to be getting in a convenient way that will still be healthy, because he stated before that although he does like convenient food, obviously most food that is convenient is usually quite unhealthy, such as fast food and stuff, so we're still avoiding that but making it easier for him. His second weakness was his physical activity. So a couple of potential improvement strategies here are having a set workout plan, where we would devise a certain workout plan that he would have to stick to. So this way we're able to kind of control and monitor the levels that he's doing by putting in place a safe amount that he can be doing in conjunction with what he's going to be eating. This will stop him from going over the top and kind of leaving himself too tired. And then you also have the option to maybe spread the exercise out more throughout the week or the day, so that they might feel as though they're exercising as much as they previously were, but it might be a slightly lower intensity, so that they're still able to exercise as often, but it won't have such an impact on them negatively. And we're also able to incorporate more resistance training into his diet as opposed to all cardio. So the good things about this is that he might be more inclined to stick to a set plan. The safe levels of exercise can be put in place so that he's not over-excelling. And the frequency of exercise can be monitored and controlled. And then we can also add in some variety in terms of cardio and resistance. And also you can plan a certain variety to try and stop him from getting bored throughout the week. However, just like the diet plans, he might not stick to it, and he might then exercise more than what was originally planned. So again, that could be quite dangerous to him. He could get bored of the exercises, or he might not get along with certain exercises that have been put in place for him to do. Another possibility is the idea of a personal trainer, so having someone on hand to keep him on track and ensure that he's maintaining a safe level of exercise. He can also give him tips about nutrition in relationship to how much activity he's doing. So the benefits of this is that it can motivate him to stay on track. Again, they can offer nutritional advice to go alongside the activity. So for instance, if he started doing more resistance training, then his personal trainer will probably give him certain advice on what additional nutritional things he needs to do to help that along. A personal trainer can also offer a form of emotional support, as well as a type of friendship which he might not have if he's training by himself. However, it can be quite expensive, and there is a certain level of commitment when getting involved with a personal trainer that he might not want to get himself involved with. There's also the possibility of exercise classes. This would encourage Paul to be more sociable, which can help him in other aspects. So he'd be able to make friends in classes that he might then go out and socialise with outside of the gym. It takes the focus off exercising as a means of trying to look a certain way, and makes it more of an enjoyable experience, and it's encouraging to try something new. And obviously there's all sorts of different classes in place, so it doesn't all have to be based on cardio. There could even be things such as yoga and stuff like that to work on other aspects of his fitness. So yeah, the benefits of this is obviously incorporating the social aspect, so he's not quite so isolated. It gives him alternate styles of exercise instead of what he's typically doing in the gym, just kind of running. Gives him a new experience, and he might find that he's actually preferring a class as opposed to just going into the gym by himself and working out. However, obviously classes, they start and end at a certain time, and that might not fit in with Paul's day. And obviously it's an additional cost to him, and there'd be kind of less one-to-one contact than if he were to get a personal trainer, which he might not be a fan of. Another possibility is the idea of joining a sports club. So again, it changes the purpose of what he's really doing. So instead of going there purely to get fitter and obtaining a specific body shape, he kind of might be getting more enjoyment out of it, and kind of be learning, like, more skills based and techniques that might be more transferable to other sports and things that you might try later on in life. So yeah, the benefits of this is obviously you can develop friendships with like-minded people. It kind of incorporates the idea of teamwork, which again is a transferable skill that you can use wherever really, both in sporting context and out. It's quite competitive at times, and obviously before he stated that when he sees someone looking a certain way, he kind of wants to be better than them. So this might indicate that he's actually quite a competitive person, so this could be a good fit for him. It doesn't necessarily feel like exercise, as opposed to if you're going in the gym, even though you could be getting the same or even better benefits from doing it. Yeah, and the regular training he could be doing at a sports club might mean that he decreases the time he's spending in the gym, so that could be a bit better as well. And the fact that doing a sports team, some of it could be like training outside, and obviously sometimes there's added benefits of training outside as opposed to just being stuck inside in a gym all day. So some of the negatives associated with this is that there might not be the local facilities for him to go and join the sports club that he wants to do. Again, it could come at additional costs, and he might have to travel slightly further to get to these places. Obviously then, if you're doing a sport, you're going to need specific equipment for that sport, and the environment could be an issue. So for instance, say he wanted to go join a football club or whatever, the training would probably be outside, and during colder times of the year he might not want to do that. It might put him off a bit. But personally, I think the two preferred strategies that'd work for Paul is to, one, have a cert workout plan, because obviously currently he's doing too much exercise and too much of the wrong exercise as well, so we could incorporate more resistance training into that and decrease the overall amount that he's doing, and that could be a gradual thing to kind of lessen how much he's doing. And there could be regular check-ins, like once a week, to see how they're getting on with the workout plan, if there's anything they want to change or not. And then I also think sports clubs would also be a good one for him, because he needs the more social element incorporated into his exercise routines. And obviously it's got the transferable skills that he could then apply to other situations in life. And it just adds in more of an enjoyable element as opposed to purely being there to get fit and to look a certain way.